Hi, I'm Zach with Josh's Frogs, and I'm here to introduce the launch of our latest complete care kit, our Mantella care kit, based around an 18-inch cube exoterra glass terrarium. This setup is enough to house 4 to 6 Mantellas of various species. Stick to the same species, of course, but they are great in groups. I'll work with a number of these guys and produce them captive bred here at joshsfrogs.com. This kit includes the base, an 18-inch cube exoterra tank with front opening doors, a nice little vent here to help keep your windows from getting fogged up. Your substrates, false bottom, ABG mix, substrate divider, as well as sphagnum and leaf litter over here. A compact top and 2 of our LED bulbs. Produce a lot of light, keep these live plants that come with it happy without getting too overwhelming. Springtails to help keep it clean and provide a little bit of extra food. Some sticks for hardscape, and a mister. So we're going to go ahead and get started, getting everything set up. Handy dechlorinator to make tap water safe, and a hydrometer and thermometer just to make sure everything's kosher for those Mantellas. So we're going to get the front doors set up. This tank has already been rinsed out and dried. We've got 2 bags of false bottom. False bottom is going to basically give any water from misting and whatnot a place to go in your tank. Okay. Rip open those bags. Move that out. This false bottom is really cool stuff. It's super lightweight. It's actually made of recycled glass, so it's an environmentally friendly product. It's almost like artificial lava rock. It takes up a lot of space and has a lot of surface area for plant roots to grow, as well as beneficial bacteria to grow and help keep everything clean together. So, I'm going to take our drainage layer divider, substrate divider here. Measures a little bit bigger than a footprint of the tank. Spread it out. You can fold the sides up or down. I like to fold them back over on each other so there's not too much extra. A few little gaps here or there, as long as they're very, very small, are okay. You generally want to try to get a pretty tight fit. Then we have 2 bags of ABG mix. Typically I dump this into a bag and add a little bit of water to add moisture, but this is some fresh stuff that's already a little damp. So for illustrative purposes, we're not going to worry about it. Dump that stuff right in there. Once that's in there, before I mix everything together, I like to go ahead and take my springtail culture. And if you have only 1 tank, you can add a springtail culture right to it. If you have multiples, you may want to culture them with a culturing kit outside. I like to just dump that right there. That'll add plenty of springtails to your soil, which these little guys will work hard to eat frog poop and other waste and kind of keep everything clean, and just kind of mix it all together, mix it in, shift it around, spread it out pretty evenly. Nice and in there. Mantellas really appreciate a lot of open spaces, so we selected some pretty small sticks for the setup. We're just going to kind of lean these in the back, provide a little bit of perching areas for the guys, to hang out in and everything, and a little bit of things for the plants to climb on. Now it's time to select our plants here. A lot of times I like to put in the epiphytes, the plants that grow without soil first, so I'm going to take these 3 bromeliads that come with the kit. Not native to Madagascar, but they have these little reservoirs of water. They'll hold water right in there, which a lot of Mantellas will utilize, and they look cool. You can actually take the little wooden bottom, the stolon, and stick that right into this foam background. And then they'll eventually root right into place. So I like to kind of, when I get 3 of them, stagger 2 in pretty close to each other. And then add another one off on its own a little bit. I always think that looks a little bit more naturalistic. And it is a little bit easy initially for those to fall off. So sometimes you want to pack a little bit of moss around them, or even use a bit of a paper clip to push them in. But they'll root in and stay in place really well. Then we want to go with our vining plants next. This guy right here is a creeping fig. And these have already been rinsed. Generally you want to go ahead and remove all the soil from the roots and such. And place this right at the base of the background where it's going to grow. Creeping fig can be a pretty aggressive. It's a great option. You know, you kind of wedge it along the bromeliads, let it go, but once it gets acclimated in here, it'll just attach right to the background and grow up like crazy. Next for vines, we've got oak leaf creeping fig, which is this really neat little guy. Another variety of creeping fig that has neat little oak leaves, and it's a much slower grower. And this is a really nice big plant, actually, believe it or not. So we're going to tease it into two. And then we're going to plant each one actually at the base of the wood here. So that way it'll actually eventually grow up and cover these wood vines over time, these wood sticks. And we want to look at some of the larger plants we have, which is guy right here, the Spathiphyllum, or peace lily. Very nice plant. For one of the more open back corners. It'll fill in nicely, provide a lot of shade and cover. This is a smaller variety that will get about the height of the tank eventually. They're very easy to trim. Add a little bit of color with this little guy, which this guy will need to be, careful to stay on top of trimming him. They can get pretty large, but they have nice big leaves. And we find with a little bit of care, they actually make a pretty good vivarium plant. We also have a bird's nest fern, which is going to look awesome for quite a while. And eventually you'll probably want to yank out of there and put into a pot. These guys can get huge under the right conditions. A lot of times in vivs, though, they behave themselves pretty well. They only occasionally send out a larger frond that'll get a little bit big. You can just trim right off. And we'll set this guy a little bit more forward and center so it can kind of arch off, show off its cool fronds eventually, and provide a lot of cover. Mantellas like a bright environment as long as there's a lot of shady areas they can kind of get out of there and take refuge in. Also put this little fern along the side of the tank. Along the back, that'll bunch up and help fill everything in right there. Begonia, which can get quite large, but a little bit of trimming never hurt anybody. They tend to do a little bit better when you trim. They get really bushy, provide a lot of hiding places. And we're actually going to just put this guy plop right in the center here. So that way, when all this grows in, you're going to have a very nice, basically kind of a triangle coming off the back 2/3 of the tankers that are going to be pretty densely planted. So those Mantellas will feel really safe and secure in there. And we'll take this miniature version of Syngonium, which likes to stay nice and small. We're going to plant that a little off center, closer to the front over here, just to kind of give them a little place to come up out into this little field we're creating at the front. But once that grows in, they'll feel pretty comfortable. Then we're going to take some Sphagnum off. We're going to use it to cover the base of all of this dirt, all the ABG mix. So actually should be a little bit extra. You just need a light coating, not an inch or anything like that, just enough to cover the dirt, so that's not really easily getting on your frogs. Make sure you get up along the base of all the plants, underneath their leaves. You want to try to be as thorough as possible. This can take some time. You know why? Whenever I do this part of it, I kind of feel like Bob Ross up here. It's very relaxing, kind of taking your time, laying the groundwork for that happy little accident of a vivarium we're going to have the long term, knowing that some Mantellas will be in here and living for years to come. Mantellas are these really cool, brightly colored little frogs. Sometimes they're called the poison dart frogs of Madagascar. They are brightly colored and toxic, but besides being a frog, they're really not closely related to poison dart frogs from Central or South America. A lot of them aren't doing well in the wild. That's why we only sell captive bred, of course, like everything else on Josh's frogs, and we produce them right here. It's really neat with Mantellas. Every one we sell, we actually donate $5 to Operation Mitsinju, which is this organization over in Madagascar that actually works to help conserve them in the wild, which is pretty cool. So by keeping Mantellas as pets, we wanted to, put us in a position where the customer could actually help support, keeping them alive and happy and healthy and safe out in the wild too. Really no need why the pet trade should impact those wild populations much at all. So we've got a full coverage with that Sphagnum there. I'm going to come in with my leaf litter, which we've got 2 boxes there. These are exceptionally full bags, so might be a little much. We may end up just using 1 bag this time around. Comes with 2 bags. After about 3 to 6 months, these leaves will start to degrade, and you'll end up adding more. So that's why it comes with 2 bags. Keeps you in the leaves for a while. These are a variety of live oak collected from a pesticide herbicide-free area. They're nice and clean. It looks like we're not even going to add a full bag on that. Add a few bit more than you need. You can see these leaves don't sit very flat on the bottom. There's a lot of little surfaces and caves and stuff for those Mantellas to hang out in and explore. Then generally you'd hose this Mantella tank down really, really well. I'm a fan of using still water. You can use dechlorinated water as long as you use some conditioner and let it sit out for 24 hours. Make sure it gets down to room temperature. A lot of our taps kind of hot or you know, a lot of times cold this time of year especially before it's coming out. But you know, distilled water or dechlorinated water. You go ahead, you can install the combometer, which is a fantastic name Exoterra came up with for a thermometer and a hygrometer. So it checks temperature and humidity. Got this nice little display here. Just pull out the little clear tape and it activates the battery, makes the connection. Terra tanks, if you remove the lid, on the back there's these little grooves that are present for running wires in. And so you can do this. You generally want to have this guy about 2/3 of the way up the tank down one side. So you kind of wire him around. Use this little suction cup. Stick it about that or so. If you'll notice on the probe, one side has what looks like a little mesh coating. That's hiding the probe, the actual things that measures the temperature and humidity. You want to have that angled away from the front and the top of the tank. So when you're misting, you're not misting that directly. But that's how you wreck these things. And then they'll just read 99% humidity forever. And then you just run the wires through this little hole in the back. And sometimes more successfully than others. Then you put the lid on, or kind of pinch that, hold it in place. Put the straps up. Then it's time to install the compact top, which these are generally packaged. So we're going to pop that sucker open. There we go. Made it. Doing this, I'm going to put on the compact top, pull the plastic off. Who needs instructions? Alright, we'll leave that cord wrapped up. And then we're going to use these two LEDs. We have these LEDs made for ourselves. They're proper temperature, 6500 Kelvin. And, cool enough, they last a long time. You know, we actually guarantee them through us for a year, but they should last you much longer than that. And they produce a lot of heat, or a lot of light anyway, without much heat. It's pretty cool. They even have an actual little vent at the top, and then this is a heat sink. So they're pretty neat little holes. When you put them in these fixtures, it's really important to know to not turn them, because then you can separate the metal part from the plastic base. So you don't want to turn them too tight. So you put them in there, you'll feel it kind of get tightened, and then you want to kind of gently go back so the LEDs are angled down. So you don't want to tighten it all the way or break it. We'll do that with both of those. This is a great way to provide light and a very small amount of heat compared to most other light sources to your tank. So you can see these aren't mounted in a little bit. They're actually a slight bit loose, but they're going to produce the right amount of light you need. Place that, it kind of snaps in. You can plug it in, and then the neat thing, you can take your little probe here. We're going to go for Fahrenheit because we're not that fancy. And you slide in this little track, so it's mounted right there. And that in, and you're good to go. Generally, I'd recommend getting this set up ideally for a week or two before you put Mantellas in it. You should be all set. Anyway, if you have any other questions, anything of that nature, hop on over to joshsfrogs.com, shoot us a message, check our stuff out, and let us know if we can give you a hand. Thanks.